and then Mary can distribute it as she feels necessary, or we can post it online someplace if you would like us to do that as well. Okay, so once again, my name is Robert, and Georgette is the office manager here. She will be doing all of the correspondence via email and so forth. If you have any questions, we'll set that communications up so that you can communicate with her later on. And well, and again, like I said, we're going to use this application off of our demo server for doing this training. So I'm going to do several things. First of all, I'm going to do this absolutely from the start. I'm running on a Macintosh. You can use this application on anything. You can use it on a tablet. You can use it on an iPhone. You can use it on an Android. You can use it on your office computer. But what I strongly encourage you to do is to use Chrome or Safari. Internet Explorer is full of bugs. They write the rules, and then they don't even follow their own rules. So you really need to use Chrome or Safari. It also works fairly well on Firefox as well. So any of those applications will work with this application. So I'm going to go to a new incognito window. The only reason I do that is because then I'm guaranteed that I've got the freshest stuff. I'm also going to go here. I'm just going to clear my browsing data real quickly. And so I'm going to clear all my browsing data, make sure I've got the latest version. So I just cleared my browsing data, and I'm working in incognito. So I'm going to type in your URL address.
Interruption.
Yes, sir.
When you say you work in incognito, what does that mean?
Basically, what that means is that I'm not using any of the cached information on my browser. So that basically means I'm starting with an absolutely clean browser to make sure that I'm picking up, because we're always in the process of changing things. At some point, you won't care. I mean, you'll just open it up with Chrome and it'll run just fine. But because I'm working on the demo application, I want to make sure that I'm using the absolute latest version of the program, same stuff that you have. Okay. So what I'm going to do then is I'm on this really neat little, really cute little icon window, and it's called a new incognito window. As you can see, when I opened up the the Chrome application, it gave me a couple of options. One of them down here is new window. The other one is incognito window. And so I just chose incognito because that's what I needed to use. So I'm going to log into the demo billing. Let's see, I've got to remember what it is. Demo, /4.0. Okay, so we will give you your URL address so that you have the proper URL address. I believe, in fact, I'm going to just open up, if I can find Word here. I'm just going to open up Word, and I will show you on the screen what your URL address is. Mary, we were having trouble. As you remember, we were having some trouble getting people logged in. Turns out we were using the wrong password. Okay, so the URL address for this activity is, it's going to be xtreme.wispmon.com/4.0. And we will make sure that you guys have proper usernames and passwords, and we'll go through and verify that all of that is correct. And I'm going to blow that up big enough, hopefully, so you can see it. Okay, so there's the URL. It's extreme.wispmon.com/4.0. And we'll just keep track of this, and I will send it to you when we get finished. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log in with my usernames and passwords. And I'm going to log in with this one. Oh, you know something? This is our demo, so I better use the right one. Okay, so what it does is it takes a couple seconds and it recovers all of the data associated with this particular application. So that's about the length of time that you should see when you put in your username and password and then you press the go button. If it doesn't show up in, 10 or 15 seconds, hit the refresh button up here at the top. That's just that little circle, it says reload this page. Okay. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to use this demo, and then what we'll come do is we'll actually do some examples in your actually in your server. So this is the application. You may or may not get to see all of the information on this dashboard. So coming down the left-hand side, I've got dashboard, I've got customers, I've got ticketing, I've got work orders, I've got network components, I've got inventory, I have reporting and some calendar stuff, and then finally some admin information. On the dashboard, you may or may not see some of this information. My guess is that you probably will not see all of the financial stuff. So I'm just going to turn off some of the financial stuff, and I'm going to turn that off, and then I'm going to save that. And my guess is that this is probably more likely what you're going to see. So now I'll go back to the dashboard, and what we'll see here is there'll be trouble tickets here on the left-hand side. So anybody that has an outstanding trouble ticket, that will show up on this list right here. Over here on the right-hand side, this is the scheduled appointments, and you'll be able to see all of the scheduled appointments that are currently scheduled for today's activities, and you can see where they are. You can click on them and open them if you need to. And then last but not least, down here on the bottom side are the events and the calendar schedules. So you can see all of the different calendaring events that are going on during the day. So that's probably what you're going to see. You're going to have trouble ticket sections. You're going to have, scheduled appointments for the day, and then you'll have a calendar showing what each one of those particular events actually is. The process here is that there are probably two kinds of things that you guys get involved in as customer service representatives. The first one is that you may get a sales call. Somebody calls in and says, hey, I'd like to get service on your network. Can you tell me if I can get internet at your location? The answer will be is we're going to go through the process of showing you how to select the sales contact information, and then if you actually can provide service at that location, how to turn that into a work order and assign it to a technician and a date and a time. The second item is that somebody's going to call in and say, hey, I need to make a payment. My service doesn't work. I'd like to change from one service plan to another, or whatever the case might be. But what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to discuss and understand how we handle the different customer aspects, the CMR type stuff that you guys do. So the first thing we're going to do is somebody calls in and says, hey, I'd like to get service on your network. Almost all of the customer activities, whether they're sales or customer prospects or whatever the case might be, is listed under customers. So we have two main categories. We've got sales and prospects, and I'm going to blow this up so you can see it a little bit better. I'm going to zoom in a bunch. What that's going to do is it's going to throw the maps off, but it's okay. It's not a big deal. Let me zoom in one more time. And maybe once more. Okay, so hopefully everyone can see what that looks like. If you cannot see, identify that in chat, and Georgette will let me know that I need to change the prospect sizes. Okay, so once again, coming down the left-hand side, I've got these customers and sales prospects. I'm going to click on the sales and prospects, and I'm going to add a sales contact. And so this guy's name is going to be, how about Lloyd, and I'll just make it Olive, okay? And his address is going to be 3791. And he's giving all of this information to you as you're doing this on the phone. Carroll's Court. And then the city is going to be Burleson. And the state is just going to be PT. I'll just click PT, and that'll take me down to Texas. Okay, and then the postal code there is 76140. And the next thing I need to do is I need to go down here and I need to put in his email address. So I'll ask him, what is your email? I'm going to actually use mine. Okay, so I'm gathering information that we're going to need later on. Notice, by the way, that I didn't have to do anything with the longitude and latitude. As soon as I entered the contact address, it actually moved that customer to the proper location on the map on the right-hand side. The phone number, this is a contact phone number. I'm going to go ahead and just put in, well, actually, I don't have a contact phone number. How about 928-778-3008? This is a cell phone number right here. I don't know if you can see that, but that's a cell phone number. The reason it's important to get a cell phone number from the customer is because we do text messaging to the customer. In the event that you have an outage, we'll send a broadcast message to your customers that say, oh, by the way, we know that you're currently out of service. We anticipate return to service in 15 or 20 minutes. If you're still having problems after that, please contact us to ask. And then what that'll do is that'll keep your phones from ringing. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the sales contact as a cell phone, 817-829-7214. That's my cell phone number. And then my work number is 817-764-0956. It's important to gather as much information about contact the customer as you possibly can. So grab that information while you got them on the phone. Then last but not least, we're going to pick the word of mouth or how the customer was referred to us. Hey, did you see our qualifying page in the newspaper? Was it a Google search? Did you see our door hanger? Okay, so in this case, it was a door hanger. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to identify right underneath here, I'm going to identify that this is a prospective customer, so they're a prospect. So what did I do? I put in their first name, their last name. I put in their address, city, state, zip, phone number. It automatically filled in the longitude and latitude. Then we put in their email address, their phone numbers. We identified how the referral source was. And then last but not least, we identified that this customer was a prospect. I then proceeded to save this contact. Okay, so I saved the contact. The next thing I want to do is I want to determine whether or not this customer is actually capable of getting service on our network. So I'm going to click on Edit Using Map, and it didn't do what I needed it to do. Give me just a second. By the way, this is a very good point. It's because I zoomed in and zoomed out a dozen times on the different view, it didn't give me the hybrid. So I'm just going to quickly reload the application. I saved this guy. It's sales contact under Olive. So I'm just going to quickly reload this. And so the way I reloaded it is I just hit that circular button up here at the top. Let me just make sure that the hybrid shows up. It does. Okay, so I'm going to go back to customers. I'm going to go back to sales prospects. I'm going to search for that sales prospect instead of adding it this time. The last name on this guy was Olive, and the first name was Lloyd. I'm just going to, there he is right there. So what I did was because I didn't have the hybrid view, I went back out, I reloaded the application, I brought back in the hybrid view, and you can see then I came over here to customers, search edit, and then I searched them by clicking on this magnifying glass. I could have just hit a carriage return. That would have also done the same thing. I'm going to open this guy back up. So now I'm back where I was, but notice now I have a hybrid view on the map. So I'm going to edit using the map. I'm going to find out where this guy lives, and I'm going to put it right on top of their house. So, because, we don't provide internet service to the street. What we do is we provide internet service to the guy's house. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to drag this over here, and I'm going to put that right on top of that guy's farm. He owns a farm. He owns a house over here, but he's got a farm over here, and he wants this on top of his barn. So I'm going to put it on top of his barn. That's where we're going to provide service. Now, there's some other things that I can get from looking at this guy's barn. First of all, I can get a feel for how tall it is, right? This is a barn. It's probably 30 feet. And if I put a little J-mount on top of the roof, I probably can get 30, 35 feet out of that location. So now that I've put it where it's supposed to be done, I'm going to go ahead and hit this button that says click when done. Okay, so now what it did was it changed the longitude and latitude. It put the little sticker right on top of the guy's house. And now I'm going to do the magic of the program. I'm going to qualify that location. So I'm going to hit this qualification button. It's going to ask me, what is the received signal elevation above ground level? So I look at that. It's probably 30, 35 feet. I'm going to put 35 feet into this little received elevation, and I'm going to sell it together. Now, because I am zoomed out so far, all of the maps are not displaying properly. So I want you to imagine this access point actually over the top of this customer coming off of that tower. So you can see that that's a bit of a problem when I zoom in. So this is the access point. Imagine that this tower is located, actually, let me just real quickly put that back on. No, I'm just going to leave it. So this is the access point that we're getting the service from. This is the line of sight between the tower and the customer's location. just imagine this whole thing picked up and moved back over here coming off of this tower right here. So what I get is I get a line of sight qualification graph. So this is following this red line from the tower to the customer's house. The tower is on the left, and that's the elevation of the tower above the ground. And the house is on the right, and it's over here on the right-hand side. And so I can see that there's a line of sight graph. The red line is the line of sight between the tower and the guy's house. The blue line is the first Fresnel zone. Then on top of that, I have ground clutter. That includes trees and urban development and, you know, subdivisions and those types of things. And so last but not least, I have ground terrain underneath that. From this graph, I can see that I've got a little bit of an incursion into the line of sight right there. And so they may need, in fact, they may need to have like a tripod and a 10-foot pole on top of this guy's house. So I'm going to take it to 45 feet, and I'm going to run that graph again. And again, so this time I get a different color on that. And at 45 feet, I have no trouble clearing that information on the ground. So I know I can provide service to this guy at that location. And the odds are that even if I looked at this, I probably would discover that there's probably not much of a tree issue with this location at all. So I'm going to go ahead, because I moved that, I'm going to go ahead and save the work order. And then I'm going to go ahead and create a new installation work order. So I'm going to go to the bottom. I've saved it. Now I'm going to create a work order. So I click on work order. And what that does is that brings up the work order page. So the first thing, the absolute first thing that you have to do is you have to pick a technician and a date to perform this service. So there's a calendar for every one of your technicians, and those are listed in here. Now, I don't know how Mary is wanting to handle this. One of the things that we have a very large customer in Arkansas, and they have technicians all over the place. And they have a guy in the morning that goes through and actually does the assignment on technical support and installations. And what he does is he looks at the map and he identifies who's going to do what, and then he takes them out of an unassigned batch, and he assigns them to the particular technician who's going to go do the work. So in this case, I'm just going to assign it to me. But as you can tell, we also have that unassigned technician that someone can go through and do that dispatch for. So I'm going to put it on me, and I'm going to do this work today. So today is the 14th. Now, you have to click this twice. There's the first date, but then you have to choose. I'm going to look at the 14th. I can see that I have an installation from 12 to 11, so I'm going, or 11 to 12. I'm going to do this installation from 1 p.m. To 3:30. So I'm going to go to 9:14, and I'm going to complete this. Typically, you can complete them in an hour and a half. I'm going to go to 2:30. Okay, so when I do that, I'm going to go ahead and add the event at the bottom, and that'll add it to the calendar. It will do several other things. First of all, it's going to send an email to the customer that says that they now have an installation scheduled on the 14th from 1 to 2:30, and it's also going to send an email to the technician indicating to him that he has a installation scheduled from 1 to 2:30 on the 14th. He can actually open the email and click on that email, and he can see the work order directly from his email. So there are several different tabs that the customer service technician is going to, or the customer service representative is going to have to figure out, or at least complete, when creating a new installation work order. So the contact information was automatically filled in on this new installation work order. Then we're going to go to the billing tab, which is right here. We're going to go to the billing tab, and if the name and address is the same as the contact tab, I'm going to hit this blue copy contact over here on the right. So now I've got Lloyd Olive, and I can see the address, and I'm going to go ahead and pick a billing company. There's just some drop-down things here. I'm going to pick a sales tax for this particular customer, and then I'm going to look at, this will automatically fill depending upon how you want to do your invoicing and your charging and your prorate. The last thing that you have to do on this, actually there's a couple things here. You have to give this customer a username for the portal. So I'm just going to make it Olive, and I'm just going to make it password. You probably will get some direction from your management as to what they want you to use for default portal usernames and passwords, and that'll come from them. And then over here under credit, I can now take the credit card from the customer. So I can go ahead and type in the customer's credit card number and put in an expiration date. That would include a date and a month. If they're going to use electronic checks, I can click on the electronic check and put in the routing number and the check number. Or in this case, this customer is going to use check cash, and I'll just put it on check cash and leave it at that. Then we're going to go to plans. This is where we do the upsell on the customer. Well, sir, we have residential basic service. How many teenagers do you have in the house? You have 3 teenagers in the house. Well, I would strongly recommend the family service 3-pack because that's going to cover all of your technicians and all of your customer services. So I'm going to go ahead and select the residential family service 3. The technician in the field, if they are talking to the customer, can change this when they open up the work order in the field. So the next item is that you might just tell them that there are some other charges that you're going to get charged. You're going to get charged for a basic installation charge, and there may be something else as well. For example, I hit this additional charge here, add an additional plan. So I added a basic installation. I'm also going to add an equipment rental fee. So now I can tell the customer that they're going to have a service plan charge, they're going to have a basic installation charge, and there's an equipment rental fee. The last thing I have to do as a customer service technician is to go to go to the tech tab, and I'm going to identify this as a wireless connection. So it's going to come in as a wireless connection. I have to fill in some of the information on this. So I'm going to put in the affiliation, the Zemco. I have to choose a site. It doesn't matter what site you choose. You have to pick something. From the graph that I saw, I was coming off the Rendon site, and I'm going to pick DEO4. And that's it. At this point, I can save the work order, and it's complete, and I am now finished. That's it. That's all you have to do. So I want to go back through, and I want to review with you what we just did. So the first thing we did was the customer called in, said, I'd like to get service. You went to the Customers tab over here on the left. You went to Add a Sales Contact. You gathered their sales contact information, their first name, their last name, their address, city, state, zip, phone number, email address, and then you did a save on that, and then you went in and you looked to see if you were in the right location for the customer. You moved it around on the map, and then you did a sales qualification. Realizing that you could get service at that location, you clicked on the new installation work order at the bottom, and then you filled in the contact information. Actually, it already filled in for you. And then you filled in the billing information, and you copied the information from the sales contact using copy contact. Then you filled in the billing options, the company associated with this, the sales tax. The rest of it is probably filled in by itself. And then portal username, you came up with a portal username and a portal password. You don't even have to tell the customer what the portal username and portal password is, because they're going to get an email that will have that information in it for them. And then the last thing you did on this tab was you picked the payment method. You identified which plans the customer was going to have. You upsold as much as you could on the service plan. You put in any additional things that you know the customer is going to get, like a basic installation or a rental fee. If they had some other things that they wanted, for example, they wanted a static IT, you could have included that at this point as well. And then the last thing you did is you went to the Tech tab. You identified that this was a wireless connection. You put in the affiliation. You identify the site and the sector, and then you saved it. And that's it. That's all you've got to do. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the dashboard. and hopefully the dashboard will show us that we've got a work order. Yes, we have a work order for today, and so there's the work order that we just created for Lloyd Olive. Okay, and so we put it on today's date, and there it is. So that is what you do when someone calls in wanting to get a sales contact or wanting to have service at their location. We're going to do this one more time, but we're going to do this on your server using real information if we've got it. The next thing that you normally do as a customer service representative is that now you need to be able to answer a variety of questions. 1, my service doesn't work. 2, I would like to switch service plans from one to the other. 3, I'm going to be gone for 4 months. Is there a way I can put this on hold? 4, I'm calling to cancel my service, or something to that effect. So we're going to go through each one of those, and I think you're going to discover that they're really very easy. So the first thing we want to do is we want to click on customers, and we're going to go down, and now instead of clicking on sales and prospects, we're actually going to click on customers themselves. I'm going to search the customers, and I've got a choice here. I just click in here, and I can hit a carriage return, and that will search for all of the customers that are currently in the database. It should take less than 10 seconds to pull up 1,000 customers from the database. So there's some things that we want to do now. So what I did was I just loaded all of the customers. Now, why would I do that? Why wouldn't I just load one customer at a time? I don't want to do that, because now that I've loaded all of this data, I don't have to come back if I've got another customer that calls in and says they need to talk to me, do something. I've got all the data already loaded. So let's say the first guy, his last name is Henry. So I can just, underneath this little tab here, I can type in Henry, and you can see that it's sorted on Henry. If I wanted to sort on something different, I could sort on Manilow, and now all of a sudden I've got M-A. The more I type, the more it sorts. And so I can sort on a variety of different things here. I can sort on first name, account number, address, city, phone, whatever the case might be. I can find the customer by starting to type in pieces of that information. I can go into the customer, I can make changes, and when I come back to this page, the changes that I made on that customer will not be reflected until I hit the sales or the search button. But if I don't need to worry about that, I can just actually go on to my next customer, whoever that would be. So I wanted to show you what's here. Here's the account number. There's the first name, the last name. This is a company. There's the address, city, state, postal code, phone number, email, and the balance that the customer currently has outstanding. I'm going to pick Henry, and I'm going to click on Henry. Now, when I click on Henry, the line actually changes color. It gets a little darker, and then what I have is it brings me to the customer tab. This is the customer page. Let's look at what's on the customer page. First of all, there's the guy's name. There's the guy's account number. I can see that he has an outstanding balance of $248.72. Under the contact information, I can see that he has contact information. Here's his address, city, state, zip, country. Here's his phone numbers. This is his cell phone number right here. This is just his contact number. If he had a work number, it would show up right here. And then last but not least, this is his email address. If I wanted to change some of that information, I can click on the little edit icon next to the word contact, as is the same with all of the rest of it. If I want to open this up, I can open it, I can edit it, I can change it, I can see what the customer's current portal username and password is. The customer on their customer portal, when they log in on a customer portal, they can see all of this information just like you can, and they can change anything in the top 3 sections of this customer portal page. Under billing options, I have several different kinds of billing options. First of all, you can see the billing company. Secondly, you can see the sales tax that's currently ascribed to this customer. Thirdly, you can see how they are receiving their invoices. This guy is getting an email invoice. There's several other things that are important here. This is important right here. The fact that he is prorated means that if I change the service plan from one to another, it's going to automatically calculate how much money I need to give him back for the current plan that he hasn't finished using, and it's going to calculate how much money I have to charge him for the new service plan between today's date and the end of the billing period. So having prorated turned on is important if you're changing from one service plan to another. So if somebody calls in and says, I want to change from one service plan to another, you need to come down here and just verify before you make any changes that the prorate button is turned on. If it's not, click on the little edit button there, come down, click on it until it's active, and then make the change. Notice that you can also change invoice dates and charge dates for the customer at this same location. Or if they have a new credit card, if you want to add a new credit card, same thing here. They call you and say, hey, I'd like to change my credit card. Well, no problem. You come down to that section, you click on the little edit icon, you click in here, you click on credit card, you put in the credit card number, whatever. I'm going to put it back on check cash because I don't want you guys to see my credit card. And, by the way, that will be the only time that you will actually ever see a credit card number. We don't retain credit card information. And if the customer does not want to give you their credit card information, you can tell them where the customer portal is located, and you can give them their username and their password. Now, the one thing that we have not discussed is CP&I, and I don't have CP&I turned on this particular application, but when we go through your application, I'm going to show you how that works. At least, Georgette, could I get you to ask Cameron to verify a username and a password that has CP&I turned on so I can log in and use that, please?
Yes, and we do have a question.
Oh, thank you so very much.
And we do
I'm going to need a username and a password that's currently ascribed to CP&I.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Okay, so the next thing is I can go and I can look at this guy's billing information. All of the invoices and everything that's been ascribed to this customer to date is located under billing. If they call in and say, hey, I'd like to make a credit card payment, then you have a couple of options. One, you can pay the balance with the credit card that's on file just by pushing the button up here at the top. That will pay whatever the credit card is that's on file. It'll take the entire amount of the balance and make that payment. If they want to make a smaller payment using the credit card on file, you have to go to transactions. So again, I went from invoices to transactions, and I can click on this transaction, and I can take a payment. Now, currently there is no credit card on file. If there was a credit card on file, then it would show up here, make a credit card payment. So in this case, I'm just going to make a check payment. I'm going to click on check payment. I can put in the amount, 154, whatever it is, 0.00. Check posting date will be today. The check number is 165. The accounting code, I don't think we have accounting codes listed in here yet. Okay. Georgette, if you would also make sure we get the accounting codes. Oh, this is not their service. This is ours. Sorry. Ignore that last accounting code comment. And then you can put in a note here if you want to. This is a note. And then I can do two things. One, I can just apply that to the account, which will apply it to the oldest invoices first, or I can apply it to a specific invoice. And in this case, I don't have any invoices outstanding, so I'm going to go ahead and just apply it to the account and save the transaction. So what that will do is that is a one-time credit check payment. You can also take one-time credit card payments or ACH payments or whatever the case might be. We're going to come back on the rest of those things later. So again, we came from the contact page, we went to the billing tab, we see that there's a whole bunch of different kinds of transactions here. I want to look at invoices just briefly. Here's an invoice that the customer might want to question you on. Hey, I got an invoice, can you tell me what's on this invoice? If you click the invoice, what it will do is it will load up the transactions that are associated with that invoice below it. So I clicked on the invoice, and it shows me that these are the 4 different transactions on this invoice. The first billing, there was a first billing for $33.30. There was a basic installation charge for $199. There was a sales tax for $16.42. And we just took a payment for $154 on this invoice. Those are the items on this invoice. There's also a couple of other things that you can do. You can email this invoice to the customer. So if I click on this little envelope thing, it'll actually say, do you want to email this invoice to the customer? And I'll just go ahead and say, okay. Now, that may cause a little issue. I don't know if we have our invoicing stuff working. Yeah, it was a problem. I'm sorry, you didn't see that, but what it said was a problem sending the invoice. When it has no problem sending the invoice, it'll say invoice sent to customer. And so the customer will get that to whatever the email address is in the billing tab. Okay, so the other thing I can do is I can actually print this invoice. So I want to print the invoice. I click on this little print icon, and I say, yes, I'd like to print this invoice. So here's the printing. Okay, great. This is our server. Sorry about that. It doesn't suit SQL Server for that, but that's all right. What you would do is you would print this. It would bring it up on the screen, and then you would hit a Control-P, and the Control-P would actually print it for you. And then last but not least, the other things that customers ask you for are associated with plan changes. You know, plan doesn't work, service isn't working, I need to change a plan from one to another, whatever the case might be. So I clicked on the Plans tab, and now this is very specific to the plan that they are in question on. They may have 3 different plans, and so you have to make sure that the troubled problem or the change of plan that they want to make is the plan that you select. So in this case, I'm going to select the Residential Basic Service Plan. I can see a lot of information. As soon as I click on that, all kinds of information pops up. So for example, here is the Residential Basic Service. It's a 1x1 meg service. It's $49.95 a month. I can see what the plan speeds are on that. They're 1 meg up and 1 meg down. This is a 1-month plan, so that means it gets billed once a month. Usage, customer usage is also monitored on this device, and I can see what the limits are on that up and down link capability. So in this case, they get 10 gig up and they get 20 gig down for this particular plan. If I look underneath this, I just click on this Residential Basic Service Plan. If I look underneath, I can see that I can suspend the plan. Now, what does suspend mean? Basically, the definition of suspend is this guy has done something to make me want to shut off his service by pushing this button. When I push this button, it's also going to charge him some money because the plan was suspended. That is different than the one that's next to it. The other option, by the way, that let's say the plan is already suspended, the plan needs to be unsuspended by you. What it'll show is in the status button, it'll show suspended. And then when you click on this, you can unsuspend that customer. So let's say, for example, the customer calls in and says, hey, I'm going to make a payment, the check's already in the mail. I really need to have my service turned back on. Can you turn the service back on for me? And, take it by grace that I'm going, the check's in the mail and it's going to get there. If you decide that you're going to do that, you can click on the unsuspend plan here and it'll do that at this location. So that's suspend. The other thing that we have is a plan hold. Now, a plan hold is for a customer that is going to be gone for an extended period of time. What this does is it does exactly the same thing that the suspend button does, except now it doesn't charge him the money. So when he comes back, you can take him off a hold, it turns him back on, and there's no worse for wear. This is an information sheet. This gives you the opportunity to print everything that's on this page. This is a change plan function. So the little switch green arrows are change the plan. And then this last one, this is close the plan. So I can suspend it, I can put it on hold, I can print an information sheet for it, I can change the plan from one to another, and I can close the plan. That's this first set of icons. The next set of icons, these are trouble tickets. If I want to see any trouble tickets that have been created, I can click on the trouble tickets, and it will show me the trouble ticket that's been created. I can actually click on this trouble ticket, have a look at it, see what it says. The more trouble tickets they have, you can see all the different trouble tickets coming down below it. I'm going to close that. Actually, I'll just go on to the next one. This is notes. So if you have any notes on this particular service plan, they will show up here. this is where the notes for the service plan show up. There's also one other place where those notes show up, and I'll show it to you here in a second. This is a change log. This shows me all of the changes that we've made on this service plan, and it says change log. These are all of the changes we've made on this service plan since we started. So the customer setting changed his IP address, he switched his IP address again, and the plan was open for work order number 7. And then last but not least, if there are any pictures that were created at the time of the installation, you can see those pictures here. There aren't any, so I'm not going to press that. Now, there was one thing I didn't show you on the contact page. It's important that I take you back there. I'll come back to this page in just a second, and I'm going to show you how these things work. But on the contact page, this is all of the notes that we have for this customer. If I click on all, it shows me all of the notes that have been collected for this customer. If I look at plans, it doesn't show me anything. If I want the notes for the plans, I need to go in there and have a look in there. If there are some customer plans, the credit card was changed from one number to another. And then if there's any notes on the sales section, this is a test of the notes section. Customer was created on such and such a date. And so now, what if you need to leave a note? Let's say, for example, that this customer called in, he was suspended, you unsuspended him, but you need to leave a note to remind yourself that you unsuspended this guy based on his goodwill. So I clicked on that green button to add the note, and I'm going to say R. Olive unsuspended, SUSPENDED customer because his wife is in hospital. If you can spell, it really helps. I don't know if that's spelled right. And he says check is in the mail. Okay, great. So I'm going to save that. What that'll do is it'll add that a note to the bottom of the note section. Now, I want somebody else to see that if they log into this guy. So I'll go to the all notes section. There's the note I just entered, and I'm going to turn it on. So now, if I go back and I click on alerts, when you come into this customer for the first time, when you open him up and see him, there will be a section right here that says this customer has been unsuspended based on this. If the guy makes a payment, the balance goes to 0. You can always turn that off, and it goes bye-bye. There is something else that I have not told you, and I don't think I have an example of this. If this customer were being affected by a service outage, up here in the top right-hand side, I don't know if you can see where I'm pointing my mouse here, but up here in the top right-hand side, it will say that this customer is being affected by this service outage. So you'll have a couple of options. One, you can add him to the trouble ticket that's been created for that service outage. So when that trouble ticket and work order are completed, he'll actually get a notification that he should be back online again. Or you can just tell him that as soon as service comes back up, he should be back online. You can look at the trouble ticket. You can see how much time it's going to take to complete it, and then you can tell the guy. My recommendation is that you add him to the trouble ticket that's been created for the network component that is currently affecting his internet service. You don't have to do anything else. Just add him to the trouble ticket, and I'll see if I can find an example of that for you, and add it to this issue in just a minute. In fact, let's go over here to customer plans. Let's go see what this customer is currently set at. He is located on DEO5. So we're going to create a trouble ticket here in just a minute for DEO5, and then we're going to come back and we're going to look at Mr. Henry and make some changes. But before we do that, I want to show you how easy it is to change the service plan from one to another. I clicked on the residential basic service. That's what he's currently got. He wants to switch that to residential basic service too. The first thing I do is I remind myself to go double check to make sure that the pro rate is turned on, and it is. Go ahead and save that. Pro rate is turned on. The importance of that is that it's going to do all the calculations financial calculations for you. So if the prorate's turned on, I go to plans. I'm going to click on this plan. I'm going to click on this one, and then I'm going to click back. Okay, I'm going to click on this plan, and then I'm going to click on the change plan option right there. It's underneath that little double green arrow. I'm going to pick the new service plan that he's going to get, and I have two options. One, I can make all of the financial changes occur on his next billing cycle, and I can do that by clicking that button right there. It says, check to wait until the next billing period to make a charge for the plan change. Okay, or I can just leave that unchecked, and it will do all the financial transactions for us right now. I'm actually going to switch this to customer level 3, and I'm going to hit go. Okay, so what it'll do is it'll close the old plan, it'll make the calculations, it'll open a new plan, and the customer will get a change in balance. Oh, that's nice. I have no idea what that was, but it's probably trying to talk to the network to make sure the network is operational. Okay, so that is how you change, and it gave me some sort of error. I'll have to get the camera and look at that. This is on our development server. Excuse me a second, I got to take a note. Undefined. Changing plans. Okay, all right. So, and in fact, it appears that it in fact failed on this. We'll try it on your stuff and see if it works over there. It should. Okay, so again, this is the information that you get with that. We're going to also go ahead and create a trouble ticket. So here I've clicked on the trouble ticket service plan. Okay, so I got residential basic service 1. I'm going to click on the trouble ticket, and I'm going to add a new ticket. So that's this add a new ticket button right there. If I click on add a new ticket, it automatically says that the customer type is the customer. It's for John Henry. It's for his residential family free service. The trouble ticket, I get a choice of deciding how important this trouble ticket is. For example, if the guy's, I think we talked to John, his wife's in the hospital, he really needs to have internet service, I'm going to make it as a high trouble ticket. I'm going to pick the trouble ticket list, and on your stuff, you will have different trouble ticket checklists. In this case, I'm just going to pick this one, and then I'm going to put in some notes here as a test of the ticketing system. If I could spell, that would really help. Okay, trouble ticketing system, and I'm going to go ahead over here to the right-hand side and create trouble ticket. Now, from the creation of this trouble ticket, I have several options. One, I can create a new work order. I can add some more notes. I can close the work order. So let's look and see what's here. This is trouble ticket number 75. It was made by my user login, which is identified in this case as Cameron Crum. It was created on this date. That time, by the way, should be coming in, but it's one of the issues that we were talking about. The trouble ticket type is for a customer, John Henry. I can see that it's associated with his residential family service plan. It has high severity level. I'm not going to worry about escalation right now. And if I want to reference another trouble ticket with this, I can if I want to. But I will also look at the checklist. Now, we didn't get a chance to go through the checklist. I will show that to you in just a bit. And then if I want to, I can, I'm going to go ahead and create a work order on this. So I'm going to click Create Work Order. And again, what I'm going to do is that will open up the same, well, it'll open a slightly different work order form. But again, it's the same stuff. I've got to go here. I've got to pick a date and a time. Today's date is 14th. We're going to make this at 9 a.m. And we'll be, it's probably a simple fix. We'll be done by 10 o'clock. And I'm going to go ahead and add that event. Oh, sorry, I didn't touch it twice. Okay, so now you can see that there's the work order, And this is slightly different. Notice that the only thing we have to do here is make sure that the technician has notes if he needs them. What he'll do is he'll get this trouble ticket, and it'll have all of the customer information, and it'll also show all of the trouble ticket notes that we've had for this particular service. When the technician is done, he will simply go through and click on complete. He can add some service charges. He can do a variety of other things, but since that's an outside field function, we're not even going to worry with it right now. So I'm going to go back to this customer, and here's Mr. Henry. I'm going to search one time real quick. I was just going to pull him back up, make sure we got all the changes. So we changed that from a service level 1 to a service plan 2. Notice that the balance changed. The plans have also, one's closed, one's open. Now I'm at a customer level 3. That undefined, by the way, prevented it from updating that image right away. He's now on the $69.95 plan. It's prorated. If I go back to billing, I can see that it actually created a prorated change in the price on the customer. So as you recall, the price of this was $69.95. It actually prorated him for the difference in the price on the service plan. So if I click on that, you can see here's the residential change, $39.64. It also should probably have created a credit. Let's go look and see if it did. So what I've done is I've gone to billing, I've gone to the customer, I've gone to billing. I'm looking at transactions now, and I'm looking at all of the transactions this customer has. So this is transaction 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's the credit for the plan change, credit for the remaining time in the billing chart and the billing change, which for $28.31. This first billing was for, and again, because we have prorated turned on, we were in the middle of the billing period, so it closed out the old service and credited him for that. That's transaction number 5. And then it opened the new service and figured out the prorated difference on the service plan between today's date and the end of the billing period, and it charged him for that. You can see that that is slightly more expensive than the one that we went from. I really, really, really don't want to teach you what these items are over here on the right, because these are mistakes waiting to happen. Okay, so there is a void button over here on the right-hand side. Don't touch them. Okay, the reason they're there is because our customers have asked us, they've begged us to find a way to delete various invoice transactions. And so the danger with that is, first of all, they're highly restricted. We will not let you change a transaction if it's since the last billing period. Okay, so first of all, there are other kinds of transactions that we will not let you delete. We will not let you delete credit card transactions. We will not let you delete. The only delete that we'll give you credit for is really the only time that you would probably ever want to use that is if you enter a check wrong. So let's say I entered this 154 check wrong. I can go over here and I can void that transaction. Now, there's a host of issues associated with that. If that check is more than, I think it's 7 days, if it's more than 7 days old, you're not going to get to change it. You're going to have to ask us for help. Please just ask us for help. We will do it for you. If you actually get to where you have to void a transaction, call me. I will help you do that. I really don't want you to use, I guess I'm overdoing this. Please don't use the don't use the void. If you can, just do a one-time miscellaneous credit. If you make a mistake, do a one-time miscellaneous credit, or do a one-time charge, or do a check payment, or something. But, try to avoid the transactions at all costs. So I want to show you this, just a little more information on the billing section. This is where the invoices are located. This is where the running statement is located. So you can see what the guy's balance is for any particular period of time. So on 9/1 or 9/11, get a $33 charge. And then on 9/11, some more charges. 9/14, some additional charges. If you're looking for a specific type of transaction, you can start typing underneath those elements, and you can pull those transactions out. Then under transactions, you have the option for adding a different kind of transaction, and again, that's miscellaneous credit, one-time charge, check payment, cash payment, tax debit, tax credit, charge off. If the guy has a credit card on file, you can do a one-time credit card charge, or you can also do a credit card refund. Be careful with refunds. Let's say, for example, that the guy goes on the billing portal and he pays his balance down to zero. But he's 2 weeks ahead of when he wants that to be paid down to zero. So his balance is currently zero. He says, could you refund me that money for the 2 weeks that I'm currently outstanding? So your first inclination is to go in there and just refund him that charge. And so what that will do is that will create a debit on a credit card refund. It's actually a debit. And now he'll have a debit based on that credit card refund, which is due immediately. So at that point, you have to also put in a credit in order to be able to avoid that from actually running that credit card again tomorrow morning. So if you have questions on that, I will give you some additional clarifications on that in an upcoming video, just to make sure that you know how to do that. All right. So what have we done? We have gone in and we've searched for customers. We went over here, we clicked the search button, and we found a customer. We sorted that customer by last name, and we clicked on the customer. We've gone down the left-hand side. We've seen there's the contact information. Here's the billing information. Here's the customer username and portal. If somebody called in and said, hey, man, I'd like to make a credit card payment, I would probably direct them to the customer portal, give them their username and their password, and then let them go do it on their own, because you really don't want to deal with customer credit cards if you can help it. And then last but not least, if you want to make changes on the billing options, we've showed you where that was. This is where the notes section is. If there are notes in here that you need to check, you can look at them and pull them up. Also, if this customer is being affected by a service outage, that little outage indicator will be up here. It'll be in the same color as this red color. And then we saw what the guy's balance is. We can do a quick pay with a credit card if he's got a credit card on file. And then here's his name and his account number. Under billing, we saw that there were 3 different sections. These are invoices. You can email them and you can print them. You can also search them. You can also click on them. And when you click on them, it puts the invoice number right here, and it shows you what all the different characters are on that particular invoice. We went to statements. We looked at statements. You can see what his running balance is. If the guy gets suspended, you can see why he was suspended, because he doesn't have a zero balance at any time in the past. And then we also looked at transactions. These are all the different kinds of transactions in numerical order. If I want to sort them the other way, I can click on the little sort button. If I want to find a specific transaction, I can look for it, and it'll show me that specific transaction. I can also add additional transactions. Miscellaneous credit, one-time charges, check payments, cash payments, tax debits, tax credits, and charge-off. I haven't described for you what a charge-off is. If somebody wants to close their service, so what I'll do is I will go to the service plan, I'll pick on the plan that I want, and I will just trash can close this service plan. When I do that, if there's any contracts out there, it'll actually make a charge. It'll credit him for any time that he hasn't used on the service plan, but it's going to leave an outstanding balance. If you want to drop whatever that outstanding balance is to zero, you go to transactions, you go down here and you do a charge-off. You charge off the outstanding balance. If you don't think you're ever going to be able to get that money from the guy, go ahead and set his balance to zero using a charge-off. That way he won't show up in all of the AR reports going into the future. And it will not let you close this customer completely unless that balance is zero. Management will have to decide whether or not you want to keep customers that have closed service plans in a visible status. If they do, then what you'll do is you'll actually go down here and you will not delete the customer, but you will close the plan and charge it off to zero. If you don't ever want to see this customer again, you have to close the plans, set the balance to zero, and then hit the delete button. You can always call us and say, hey, I need this guy back on. We don't get rid of anything. We will in fact, be able to launch the guy back open. Now, speaking of that, I'm glad I brought that up. We track everything you do. So as you're doing stuff, we're keeping track of what you're doing, at least for the most part. There are some things that we don't care about, but mostly for anything that deals with financial or service plan changes or changes to the customer, we track that information. So if at some point management wants to know what happened on this specific date, was it a mistake by our customer service representative, or was the service plan broken somehow in our service? Maybe we made a mistake. We didn't invoice, we didn't do something. We'll go back and look at all those logs, and we'll figure out what the root cause of the issue was. And this is kind of preliminary upfront disclosure to you guys, so that you know that we're keeping track of what's going on. That way, you're rest assured. If you're doing everything right, and somebody says, "Well, you must have made a mistake," no, the answer is we can find out where the problem came from. 50-50, it's probably us, not you. Okay, so that is that. Now, I don't even know what time it is. Let's see where we are. There's only so much that you can learn in the time that we've been working. So I don't even know when we were supposed to start. Give me just a second. Really? Okay, so we've been going at this for about an hour and 10 or 15 minutes. Your saturation level is extreme. But what I want to do is I want to do one more thing, and then we're going to open this up to questions and comments and so forth. I need to look and see if Georgette sent me that.
If you'll look in the chat, I've got login information for you.
Oh, very good. Okay.
But, yeah, just read the chat.
Okay, so I'll view the chat. Thank you, ma'am. If I can find it. Oh, there it is right there. Okay, so, oh yes, I want to show them with that as well. Okay, so, wow, okay, all right. Okay, okay. Okay, here it is. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this, and the way I close that is I just click the little, close button at the top. I will show you that there's also another way to close it, and I'll show that to you here in just a minute. But I'm going to open up an incognito window. I'm going to log into your stuff. And I'm going to log in using this. Okay, very good. Okay, so I'm going to use Mr. Whalen, and then I believe actually that his password is different than what I'm currently being shown. I think I logged in with this last night. No, yes, they changed it. If that works. There we go. Okay, so now, apparently, there's several different things going on here. First of all, he has no dashboard settings. I just need to go in and verify that his dashboard settings are turned on. He doesn't have any dashboard settings. I'm just going to open them all up here. And they may or may not want me to be showing financial stuff, so I'm going to turn that off and save that. Okay. So what I did was I went underneath that little wishbone icon up here, and there's a place called Me. And so I clicked on Me, and I changed my dashboard configuration. So I clicked on this little Me button right there, and I clicked on My Profile. Now what I did is I went in and I changed the dashboard configuration, and then I went to dashboard. So when I bring up dashboard, this is the information that I see. You guys saw this before, kind of the same sort of stuff that you would anticipate. Now, a customer calls in, and I may need some help on this, Mary, so you may want to unmute yourself, because this is the first time I've tried this. I'm going to click on customers. I've got CP&I turned on. Okay, you guys know what CP&I is. It's that nuisance question that you always get asked when you call your bank. Well, are you really so-and-so? What's the last for your Social Security? Whatever the case might be. I'm going to go down here. I'm going to look for a specific customer. So I'm going to hit search edit.
Use Eric. Okay. So look at actually just look up Eric Whalen, and he'll be in the account. He'll be in there if you look up Whalen.
Okay, so here I guess I need to look up. There he is right there. So you see that there's Mr. Whalen. Let's look at the information that we have on Mr. Whalen. So here's his account number, first name, last name. Here's his address, Knoxville, Pennsylvania, 16928, and then here's his email address. Should I click on that customer, Mary?
Yeah, go ahead. And Michelle, this is where you're going to have to help out since Eric's not on, and he gave us permission that if there's a question that comes up, Michelle, you're going to know the answer.
Can we make this a little bigger so we can all see it?
Yes, I'll certainly make every effort to do so. Georgette, would you call in Cameron on the phone number? Let me give Cameron the phone number. Hang on a second. Actually, let me find the phone number. It's right there. Because I haven't done this before and I really don't know how to do it, I need to get Cameron to help me out. Give me just a second. Georgette, would you see if he's available?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. While they're doing that, I'm going to bring up, while we're waiting for Cameron, I want to show you what the customer portal looks like. So when you send these customers over to the customer portal, you'll at least know what it looks like when they get there. So off your website, we're going to launch this browser. So they'll go to your website, and Mary, I don't know what your website looks like. Maybe, in fact, maybe what we ought to do is go to your website and do it from there.
Okay, so it's www.indigoextreme.com. But I don't think we have the portal tab set up because we didn't have this information to put into our website.
I see. Okay.
So, yeah, if you just start where you're at, that's fine.
Okay. So in this case, we're going to log into Eric's stuff. So I'm going to send Eric over to this portal. So I'm going to roll down here, and I'm going to put in his username and his password. And you know, of course, we're disclosing a lot of work information here, but that's all right. You know, actually, your customer service reps will see all kinds of stuff. So, okay, so I'm going to put in his username and his password. His password is 13Bravo27. Now, the customer portal is written in an HTML5 version, so it should run on anything. I haven't tried it on an iPhone or an Android, but you might, I'll tell you what, I will try that and verify that it's actually operational there as well. So what we have here is we've got customer portal. Obviously, they can put a picture in if they choose to, but the account overview This is the account summary. Let me see if I can make that bigger so you can see that. Okay. Wow. Okay. So this is the account summary. This is the name of the customer. This is his account number, and this is his outstanding balance. We can also look at, oh, thank you very much. Oh, this is a great place to work. They just brought me food. And we can also see that currently he has a plan called a technician. So let's just go down and see what else we have. This is his profile. And so all of the information that you saw on that customer page is right here. He can change his name, address, city, state, zip, phone numbers, usernames, passwords. He can put in a picture profile if he wants to. He can also add additional authorized users. So if I want to, so right now he is the only guy that's allowed to make changes on the application. He can log in here and add an additional user. And so he can just put in the first name, last name, so forth, and hit save on that. And then he can also pay a bill if he chooses to. So he can make a one-time credit card payment. He can click on that. He can put in his credit card number, make a one-time payment. I believe that he can also, oh, I thought he could, but okay, so I'm going to cancel that. He also can have a look at his service plans, and he can show the activity on the service plans, and we will be tracking total usage as well. So he can see that his technician plan is active. This was the start date. That's an interesting start date. And then his plan speeds are, these are upload and download, and then he can see, he'll also be able to see his total usage through the billing period. I'm going to come back to account, and he can change his profile. Again, that's right up there at the top. Okay, or he can make a payment. And so basically, those are the kinds of things that he can do off of this website. So I'm going to come back on that in just a bit.
Bob, I'm going to suggest that we actually record the CP&I demonstration when everything is connected correctly.
Okay, so you're suggesting to me that we are done?
That is what I am suggesting.
Okay. So then what we're going to do then is, for right now, we're going to go ahead and call this a session. Apparently, there are some things that are not turned on yet. Okay. Okay, so he is still importing data on the CP&I stuff. So he's got to put the data in for the CP&I, and then all of that stuff will be operational. Now, when do we have, let me go over here and have a look at these questions.
The biggest question is the question about when to run the credit check, and I would propose that we can include that in the recording, walking people through the CP&I process. We can also walk through the credit check process.
Okay, all right, very good. Oh, he doesn't have any customer data in for the CP&I stuff. All right, that's why it's not live yet. Okay, all right. Okay, very good. Okay, let's do this. Let's open this up for just a few minutes and see if anybody's got any questions. So you can unmute yourselves, I think. Tyrone, you still there?
Yep.
All right, cool, man. What do you think?
Oh, that was a good session, but I'm not really in sales or nothing. But the map part was really awesome, and the explanations of all the stuff.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, Tyrone. If you need some additional, whatever it is that you do, just let me know, and we'll set up some time. You and I can just go through what it is that you're working on. Okay.
Okay. Are you doing the tomorrow session? That's what it takes, I think.
I am. Yes, sir. I will be in doing tomorrow too.
Well, that's where I'll be.
How did you get special dispensation, man? I want to know how you got a chance to get on, and everybody else has got to be here because they're mandated.
Yeah.
let's do this. Let me give you my email address. Actually, let me give you our support email address.
Okay.
And if you have questions, I'm sure that you guys are probably dying to get back to work or go to lunch or something. So it's support@wismon.com. Please email me, and this is our phone number, 817-764-0956. We are here during regular business hours and Central Standard Time. For the next 2 weeks, if you are working after hours or before hours, and Georgette's going to kill me for this, 817, this is my cell phone number. Call me. If that's after hours and you absolutely have to have some help, call me, and I will help you in every which way I can. And again, my name is Robert.
Robert.
Okay? And it's only fair because I've got your names too, Cindy and Elliot and Laura and Annette, Mary. I don't know who Sales 2 is, but I'm going to find out. Okay, everybody. Call us if you have problems. This is our office hours are 8 to 5 Central, and this is after hours for the next 2 weeks.
Everybody on here, I will.
Sometimes. Go ahead.
So everybody's password is different than what I gave everybody. So when we're done with this, I will send out an email with your username is the same one I sent out, but your password will be different. So I'll be sending out an email with your updated password, and you should be able to get in now because I can get into Norlene's. So everybody else should work. That's your Sales 2 person is Norlene. So we can get everybody in. You guys can get in and start looking at everything.
Okay.
Good. Let's go have some fun. If you break it, call me. No, actually, if you break it, call my programmers. All right, guys.
You know what happens when you tell people to call you. You're going to get them after-hour calls. You know that, don't you?
I know he is in so much trouble right now.
I wouldn't give that option to you unless I meant for you to call me.
I'm just messing with you a little bit, Bob.
Man, I'm going to get your cell phone number, too. I have to tell you, I have a lot of customers that will not call me because they're afraid that I'm going to be upset or, maybe I'm off hours and I shouldn't be bothered. Please don't think that.
Oh, I don't
I much prefer to hear from you at 5 o'clock on a Friday night or 6 o'clock on a Friday night than, 9 o'clock on a Monday morning. Please call me if you have problems. If anything comes up, call me. If you don't know how to do something, call me.
Roger that.
Okay. All right. Thanks,
All right,
everybody.
Hey, thank you.
Well, have a good morning.
Georgette. Thanks.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Georgette.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.